Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is sensorality? What is a sensor? Looking to stabilize the definition by direct iteration. And so we continue on. What is at the forefront of my mind, again, is the relationship of base and range, again, and inversion. I think we can state pretty generally, completely, that the relationship between base and range is inversion. Physically, again, our motivation, our bounding, the proton and the electron are inverses, and the electron is much smaller than the proton, but they both contain one functional unit of charge. And so for this natural inversion process, we have, or at least our physical motivation, we have something that's big and something that's small, but their property is equivalent. And so the relationship of base and range is inversion, and then health. Right, this is, it might seem kind of random, but again, overall, we have different conceptualizations. The meaning is irreducible, the sound associated to the syllability, the letters representing that, there are geometric relationships. But health, right, when we talk about disease, we have this overall logically, something exists, and then we have some negation. This exists, it's not that. But we typically talk about disease, and that's kind of, again, more directly a negative or a negation type of conceptualization. And once again, clearly based on ease, one of these fundamental iterations, our base E, our inversion, our inverse A, and then this iteration element S, and then the letter E again, ease. One syllable, direct geometric relationship, and then conceptually we talk about disease, but we don't really talk about ease as health. But direct iteration, health is easy. Ease is health. And so, wanting to point that out, we will arrive at that in natural derivation, but it's just another one of the more poignant, hey, we have existence, then negation, and we talk about disease all of the time, but people don't really reference health as ease. But it's, again, directly built and very clear. And so, that the relationship of base and range and then health was at the forefront of our derivation. So moving through our derivation steps, pointing anything that's interesting analytically, overall just arriving at our definition. This is a well-defined process of analysis to completion. And so we continue. Sensorality is sensible. What is charge to sensibility? Sensorality is sensibility. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is sensibility to syllability? And so now, again, this going from an A to an I, specifically in word forms with the concept in the word able, right? Ability, able, syllable, but then very naturally we have these word forms where it's sensitivity and these I or sensible, sensibility. So we're making this direct iteration of syllability with an A to syllability with an I, and our motivation was sensibility to syllability. Emphasizing, again, the general iteration of A to I. So that's another thing we can kind of point out, or at least conjecture. We're getting to, again, this finalizing direct iteration, but we have this system, the English alphabet. It is presented in an order that I didn't choose and you didn't choose. It is reflective of this overall iteration process to make language most efficient, optimally efficient. And so, is the universe expanding or contracting? It's contracting, but most specifically, it's differentiating. And so as time goes on, as time evolution progresses, we get more differentiation. So we have this overall conceptualization. If we go back in elementality, in the chronology, meaning A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so on and so forth, that's differentiating. So again, kind of like a light conjecture, again, this will all be resolved. It already is resolved, but we're presenting our derivation of sensorality as completely independent, which it is of speciality, but this analytical process is already established. And so I'm just trying to highlight any novel intuitions that come about in this realization process, because again, I don't know who else could do this at any point in the future. But again, going from our base E back to A. So when we go from A to I, it feels like we're making it more specific, or we're making it, again, producing these word forms that are solvable, that are completely reducible. In the same way we have to compare fractions by finding a common denominator, we have to get our linguistics in the right form. Overall, our conceptualization is very clear. I have senses with an S, my microwave does not. When it says sensor up there on the screen, it's not consistent. And we're proving some amount of completability, some amount of consistency within syllability, our association of shape to sound, our irreducible meanings to sound. And so, again, just overall going backwards chronologically in this, what we call the English alphabet or any alphabet, is generalization. Moving along. What is periphery to centralization? Sensorality is periphery. Sensorality is periphericality. Kind of a weird, cumbersome word form. Amendable is flexible. Flexibility morphs. Sensorality changes charge. What is charge to conversation? Or I said, what is change to conservation? Right? If something is conserved, can it change in some fashion? What is change to conversation? Again, serve and verse are these, again, you switch the order of the elementality. I want to call that inversion. But then you expand it out with new conceptualization, right? Converse, conversation, conservation, and conversation, again, are some sort of direct, immediate iterations. Sensorality is conversationality. Orality is conversational. Natural definition: is conversation sensational? Sensorality is sensation. Is sensation conversation? So in the same way we have the universe diversifies by inversion, and it's the same, we're just changing the prefix and suffix, but progressing uniquely, logically, we're getting to some sort of demonstration with that for sense, which is close to verse, some sort of just, again, unique sequence of syllability. What is conversation to conversion? Sensorality is conversionality. Sensorality is convertible. All right, convertible, again, highlighting this IBLE, it's not ABLE. Sensorality is convertibility. Sensorality is conventionality. What is intention to convention? Sensorality is conversation reservation. We were talking, I was just holding back. Sensorality holds back. What is conversation to information? Right? Is it conversations exchange information? Differentiation discerns. Sensorality is discernibility. Definitions are discernible. Discernibility is unique. Discern, concern. Sensorality is concerning. Sensorality is discerning. Emphasizing again geometrically, regardless of what that conceptualization could represent, the words, the letters representing those sounds are consistent completely up until con and dis. Again, one elemental iteration, C to D, and then the complete word on and is. What is to on. Basing centralizes. Basing stabilizes. We're looking to stabilize the definition of sensorality. I'm assuming sense is the base. It's pretty good motivation there. But again, this containment statement we've explicitly articulated, which is still kind of a conjecture that, again, to have a base, it has to be contained within the letter structure of the word. Even if there is a complete word, but it's not contained within completely. To be a base. Kind of a light conjecture, doesn't really matter, but some sort of direct iteration of sense is what we think our specific solution will look like. Sensorality stabilizes syllability, again emphasizing the change in spelling of syllability. Centralizing contains. What is centralization to radiation? Sensorality calibrates. Sensorality is calibration. How does vibration calibrate? Right? Temperature. You take a thermometer, you stick it next to this, and they jiggle around at the same time. Vibration calibrates. What is calibration to centralization? What is calibration to celebration? What is a code to a mode? Sensorality is modality, sensorality is codality, right? When we're talking about our health and someone codes, they die. Well, I started on the second page of derivation, so kind of just pop on over. And so now we're at the disease is healthy. I like to present this in order because, like I said, it is in order, but once we refine the definition, that's all you're left with. And that's all you need. I mean, we're just showing you this explicit process where, in the same way, if you go into math class and it says expand your, I don't know, Taylor polynomials, and it's just like you do it a couple times, right? This is establishing the entire operators, the function, the order. This is complete, and so we're going through every single step. But I started on the second page, and so it is out of order a little bit. Disease is unhealthy. Health is ease. Natural definition, direct iteration. Healthy is easy. Natural definition, direct iteration. Health eases dysfunction. Disease is dysfunctional. Highlighting the I to the Y letters from disease to dysfunctional. Pliability is workability. Workability is changeability. Changeability is amendability. So now we can restate the fundamental theorem of legality. Pliability is amendability, right? Your conceptualization of pliable, right? We've said, oh, we can work with that. We have some sort of juxtaposition and comparison to malleability, which is rather specific to metal, but the ability to work, to be deformable. And so legally, right, we have very clear legal context for the word liability, and then we put the consonants p in front, pliability, and then we have the natural legal context of amendability, an amendment in legal discourse. Pliability, workability in the context of legality, is amendability. Right? If you have a constitution that's pliable, you can amend it. Pliability is amendability. Is liability amendable? So how does quantum field theory predict this? A bunch of little kids are sitting around, or a bunch of adults, age is just a number, and something bad happens. We take a cookie out of the cookie jar, and mom comes down, and the two twins are sitting there, hey, who did it? And they kind of look around and they point at the other one. Right? Is liability amendable? Who did it? Oh, that guy. Right? And again, it's a natural kind of hyperbole that people do. It's like you do something silly, even as like small, if it's not like actually important, and somebody, who did it? Who let the dog out and he got some mud on his feet? And you're kind of like in a playful way. It's like, oh, he did it, right? That behavior is pliability is amendable. Liability is amendable. Whose responsibility is this? So that was a big step in legal kind of discussion, and it predicts that behavior of looking around literally and pointing fingers. Seriously as a little kid, or as an adult, or playfully if you're not painfully underdeveloped and immature. Fault is blame. Blame is liable. Sensorality blames. Sensorality is changeability. Changeable, chargeable. Sensorality is chargeability. Sensorality is a chargeable offense. Right? That's kind of our public sentiment, common sentiment. I don't like to use the word public there. I've done it a couple times. But right, people will say this common sentiment phrase of that's a chargeable offense, or I can charge you for that. Sensorality is a chargeable offense. Sensorality charges offense. What is an offense to an office? Are offices official? Is official superficial? I think we've hit a couple of those before. Flexibility is amendability. Syllability is syllability. So that's where we went from the A to the I. Felt a little out of order, doesn't really matter. But sensorality is syllability with that I spelling completely and entirely. Natural definition, direct iteration. So now we have speciality is sphericality in its most complete, contained, direct, defined thing. And now we have syllability is sensorality, and we're showing this direct differentiation to stabilize a definition by the order of syllables. But again, this whole time, this entire time, we've been functioning in this irreducible environment where we can't break language. Sensorality is syllability. Syllability is elementality. Elementality is irreducible. Elementality is thematic. Elements are themes, emphasizing the iteration of the E. What is thematicality to schematicality? Thematic, schematic. Sensorality dismisses charges. Again, pairing our variable sensorality to common sentiment expression, still focusing heavily on my personal intuition. Again, not like a choice, but just like something about charge. Is it dichotomistic? Does positive, negative make sense? Overall, getting our concepts in the right order to establish this definition. But we say the charges have been dismissed. Sensorality dismisses charges. Is missing wrong? Sensorality is missing something. What is sensing to censoring? Do rings sing? Again, emphasizing our containment, or at least some sort of completability. Sensing spells out the whole word sing. By our definition or our conjecture right now, it's not a base, it's not centralized, it's not contained within another letter structure, meaning the word sing, the G, is like the last letter. And then censoring, right, ends in ring, and then S is one element iterated after R. Do rings sing? Singing has a ring to it. Sensorality is accidentality. Again, dent is this direct iteration of sensorality with a C, censor to denter. Accidental is not intentional. Sensorality is intentionality. Sensorality partitions intention. What is intention to attention? Does intention iterate? Do your motivations change? What is motivation to intention? Sensorality contains sphericality. So again, that's not where I ended the derivation, but we're just working in the order. Like, I like to present it in order, as I just said, but the working definition is what we're, all of this whole process of analysis is to arrive at this working definition. And again, you can't break language. We're learning a vocab word in the same way you have to use it naturally 7 times for it to make sense to you personally. We have to build the context because sensorality is not a word, but it is not any more difficult to learn the conceptualization. And we're explicitly exhausting the implications linguistically. It's the only way to generate a complete proof. Again, the result of the proof is this working definition. We continue to refine that. This is a well-defined process of analysis. But my rights continue to be violated. Again, it is Memorial Day, in which the United States celebrates all of our armed service members who have gave the ultimate sacrifices for the rights, which are right here on your screen: the right to your writings and discoveries to progress science, which affects directly the health and progress and livelihood and overall quality of life for absolutely everybody globally. No one cares, nobody has any morals, nobody has any values, and nobody cares about the profound death and destruction caused globally by snuffing out the progress of science. I continue to emphasize that in every video. It has destroyed my life. It has destroyed every aspect of my existence. That ship has already sailed. Why we continue to do this, I do not know. Nobody cares. My rights are violated. That is what I have for derivation today. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.